I have not mentally prepared. Like, I haven't thought about how to contain myself in my brain, so I'm a little scared. I'm just gonna
No, I haven't thought about it because I want it to be like super authentic. So,
yeah, because let's just be our true selves for this episode, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we
obviously.
couldn't be, honestly.
This is who I am at my core, so
You are like literally in my DNA.
in my DNA.
Hi all.
Hey.
Welcome back to Completely Normal Amount Podcast. For our 10th episode. We hit double digits.
Whoop
So
whoop.
sweet, so fun. And for our double digits 10th episode, we decided to have a special guest.
Ooh.
So this is Madison McCullough, one of my very best friends that I met in college, and she is my go-to person for anything Sarah J. Maas. So, kind of bringing into the topic of today's episode, we are doing finally. We have waited so long. We are finally doing an episode about A Court of Thorns and Roses, ACOTAR for short, which I'm sure we're gonna be using the slang,
The
if you
slang.
will.
Yeah,
I had to obviously explain the jargon.
of course.
So, we are doing our 10th episode about ACOTAR because this year ACOTAR turned 10 years old,
Oh, her
enough to
baby.
bring tears to my eyes. Anyway, so for all three of us, ACOTAR slash Sarah J. Maas, which I'm sure you've never heard that name on this podcast ever.
No, not at all. We never talk about
Um,
her.
she is our literal Roman Empire, and ACOTAR specifically is like where that journey began for all of us. So I decided maybe we should pull in the expert, the one that has studied the text, Madison McCullough. So everyone, let's welcome Madison.
Round of
Thank you.
applause. Thank you.
Thank
Honored
you.
to be here. It's ironic that I am your ACOTAR and Sarah J. Maas confidant expert because you introduced me to it.
I know.
So
I was the one that was like, you have to read it.
And
But
look what
now,
you
mhm.
have
like, she's
created.
she's deeper in the lore than you can ever imagine. So
I unfortunately am. I've read them all of Sarah J. Maas more than once.
no,
And
multiple
I
times.
Yeah.
the last time I reread all of them before her last book release, I like went through and annotated to like figure out where things like connected in all the different series if it did and like how we were supposed to know stuff and like totally missed it because we just weren't paying attention.
No, she
Um
is like the queen of a foreshadow, and it's like you don't. It's so subtle that if you don't know the lore, you will never
Mm-hmm.
catch it.
You'll miss it.
Oh, that queen.
but
She
Queen
is
stuff
mother.
yeah.
she is like the Marvel of literature, in my opinion.
100%.
Okay.
So, the thing about Madison and Summer, they've never met. Yay.
Yay, it's their first time.
This is their first meeting, which is obviously a sweet moment to talk about the one thing that like the what is it, invisible string that holds us all
Yes.
together, which is ACOTAR.
ACOTAR, of
Yeah.
course.
And
And our
I
mother.
we are gonna do a disclaimer. This will be a spoiler
Spoiler
episode.
alert, alert.
Like, if you think you're not gonna get the entire plot and more in this episode, like I need you to go ahead and click off if that's not what you want to hear. Okay?
We're giving you the opportunity now.
And while we're at it, we want to kind of do a fashion show for a second.
Oh, please, if you don't mind, please.
Summer and I are wearing our Valaris t-shirts, which is a city in ACOTAR, and Madison
Mhm.
seems to be having a shirt as well, House of Wind, which is also in Valaris.
Mhm.
But
You can tell what our favorite
Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah.
obviously, like obviously,
I wonder why.
I no, I literally wonder why. So, just Madison, I don't know. Do you want to give us a little bit, like maybe like a little bit about you so the viewers can kind of understand you?
Oh gosh. Like what?
Okay, well, number one, just to like clear the room, set the record straight, like Madison is like so into like conspiracy theories, like murder documentaries, like she is always trying to like connect the
Yeah.
dots situation. So like that is why she is my confidant
Mm-hmm.
in this
I
journey.
I work with numbers and everything. And so numbers, I'm very much like looking for connections a lot of times and like why they are doing what they're doing. And so when I'm reading stuff or I'm watching documentaries, whatever it is, I'm looking for the things that connect or I'm looking for the things that don't and to try to figure out why they are. So when I read books, especially fantasy books, and especially
Hmm.
Sarah J. Maas, where she loves to give like a little plot piece that you think is nothing, and then 300 pages later, it's like the biggest thing you've ever realized.
Hmm.
Stuff like that is like my favorite thing in the world. So for ACOTAR, because it's not finished, I can
Hmm.
like come up with 6 million different options and conspiracy theories about what she can do and things that like other people are suggesting. And I'm like, no, that can't make sense because this has happened. Like,
Right.
Hmm.
I love to do stuff like that. So this is like perfect.
This is your
Yeah.
niche.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Summer and I always say, like, if you were to ask us to like filibuster, like if we had to literally sit there and talk for hours and hours and hours, like this would be the
Non-stop.
singular topic that we would pick. And then Madison, you can attest, we have done that.
Me and Allison FaceTime more than once a week most of the time. And just about every time we are on the phone, we talk about Sarah J. Maas in some capacity.
I'm not sure what else you would talk about though,
No,
so
well, there's literally nothing.
there
Well,
is no other topic.
that's the thing. I mean, yes, specifically ACOTAR, but also just Sarah J. Maas in
Yes.
general. Like, I'm not even being dramatic. I'm being so humble and gracious when I say this. Like, there is not a single day that goes by where I do not think about one of her series
Hmm.
and or ACOTAR specifically. So, what else am I supposed to talk about if it's the only thing on my mind?
Other than the
Yeah.
center of our universe.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I'm
like
confused.
literally. So I think that for those who have no idea what we're talking about, have no idea what ACOTAR is, we wanted to give a
Brief, brief,
brief,
brief, brief,
brief
brief.
overview. This series, like Madison said, is not finished. So we technically have four books and a novella out
Hmm.
at the moment. There we have been teased about ACOTAR 6 for God knows how long. Madison, when did Silver Flames come out?
Um, I think we were juniors in high school,
No,
I
no, no,
think.
not high
And not
school.
high school, college, sorry. So
Yeah,
that would have been 2019,
19,
2020.
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
sickening. She has kept us in the dark, in the dark. Summer, do you want to try and tackle the brief summary of
Oh,
sort?
yeah. Because when it comes to storytelling, for me personally, I am the briefest there is.
The brief.
So,
Hmm.
Mhm.
absolutely, I would love to. The the best way people usually describe ACOTAR, the the first book is called A Court of Thorn and Roses. So that book can also be abbreviated to ACOTAR, and the entire series can be abbreviated to that. But I'm talking about the first book. Typically, people describe it to those who are new to the world as like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but with fairies, but not like a Tinkerbell fairy, just like
Mhm.
you just have to read it to understand. From then on, it's not comparable to Beauty and the Beast at all. It
At all.
becomes its own thing in its own world, but the best way to describe that very first book is you're kind of entering into a space that's similar to that and like an
Mhm.
interaction between a male main character and a female main character that is similar to Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. I
But unfortunately, like, she doesn't really end up with said beast.
No, so it's like but it does not, that's not the love story that you're there for. Let me just
Well,
say
you
that.
are, and until you're not.
It's
I,
what you think.
it,
And
Yeah,
then you
it's
read
what
the
you
next
think.
ones and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
What was
no.
I thinking?
No, like
someone,
how
yeah,
are we not falling for the dark, shadowy man that's the most powerful fate in the entire universe?
and the most handsome man she's ever seen,
The
blah,
most
blah, blah,
beautiful
blah.
man
Exactly.
I
she's
mean,
ever
yeah,
seen as
whatever.
well. And when we say fairies, Summer, that is exactly how I describe it to people who have never heard of ACOTAR. I'm like Beauty and the Beast retelling, but with fairies. But and like it is, why is it so embarrassing to be like, but I'm not talking about Tinkerbell, like I'm talking
No,
about like fate. I'm talking about warriors that
like
have
powerful
magic.
warriors. Yeah.
I immediately like as soon as I say with fairies, I know people think about like Tinkerbell and like
Yes.
Pixie Hollow, and I'm like, "No, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about people that just have like enhanced abilities, is
Yeah.
essentially that. And there's
Right.
kind of like magic. That's kind of
U-
how it works.
I'm
Usually
talking
I say
about
like
the
fae.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows what Fae is though,
No,
so
no, no, no. This is the race that I wish I could be,
right.
fairy. So,
Right. They're
but
basically immortal. Like they live forever.
Mhm.
Not really, but like essentially.
Basically.
Our favorite man in the entire universe, Rhysand, who is also in my book locket,
hmm
he is about 500 and that's about equivalent to like kind of his 20s.
yeah. So
So,
He's a youngin.
he's
yeah, he's a bit,
a youngin.
and he's the, never mind, we don't need to get into Rhys right
Not
now.
yet.
We're
Not
too
not this
early
soon.
I
in.
cannot bring him into the conversation just
No,
yet
we cannot unleash that part of our soul at this time.
at this time. So basically, like Summer said, Farah, who is our main character, she basically gets, it's not kidnapped, but she bargains with this beast and she has to live out her days in this fairy world that's
hmm
split up into different courts. So Perinthian is like the full name of this land. The courts are split up, like their territories are split up by like spring court, night court, day court, fall, wait, no, autumn
Autumn court.
court, winter court, like just whatever. And each of them have a quote high lord, which is like basically a king type
hmm
situation for each territory. Um, and unfortunately, like all of them just like want Miss Farah so
Yeah.
bad.
Well,
Okay, not
yeah.
really, just two of them, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the first book, I would say. This is so hard to like because
I
the
know.
lore is so long. Basically, after that, am I going on for too much? Should I stop?
No. After the first book, you find out there's an underlying plot. You meet essentially like an antagonist that leads you throughout the series to figuring out there's actually an overarching antagonist. And the
Hmm.
idea is that you're kind of following Feyre through the journey of defeating that antagonist, if we want to be the briefest of briefs.
Right.
And
It's kind
intermixed in
of
that is some love.
it's
And some
kind of set up
betrayal.
to where in the bit well, one of the big things about Corinthian is Fae and humans don't like each other, and
Mm-hmm.
there's like a big divide. And so when she gets taken by this beast, it's like a huge, like unheard of thing for her to even be brought into this court.
Right.
And so you're reading from her point of view for a majority of the
Mm-hmm.
series. So you were learning things as she's learning things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Right.
very much like you know this much, and then as you kind of build your world out,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Which
kind of cool to learn through, but it's also like you're missing a lot of the pieces.
Right.
So,
And
And
I think
you,
that's the best
hmm
way to read a fantasy. Like, I think that's the best way
mhm.
to world build in a fantasy novel, in my
hmm
opinion.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Because the ones that they like world dump on you in the very beginning, it makes it hard to like even understand it and
Keep up.
remember it and then want to keep reading it because it's
Right.
not interesting, really.
Right.
Right.
If you're not connected to the story, it's not interesting to get world builded on the,
hmm
I don't think that was worded right,
No,
but
but that's so right,
you
world
know,
builded.
it's just like not fun to read about if you don't care about
No,
it yet.
at
So,
all.
And we already said spoiler alert, so I don't feel bad about saying Feyre and Rhysand are end up being like your main characters. Their story is the first three books, essentially. They're still
mm,
in the others, but you kind of wrap up their part of the journey in those first three. You get a novella that we like to call the Christmas special, where you kind of get a little bit of everybody and all the
Hmm.
characters you've met. And then Silver Flames, which is the latest book that came out, kind of is not a continuation, but kind of starts like a new story,
Plot.
but there's still details from the beginning of the series that you need to continue that, if that makes sense. Like it's not separate, but
And she also,
yeah.
in once you read the first four, well, no, the first three, then we don't go from, we're not in Farrah's head anymore. We're doing third person,
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
which I'm sure Madison has something to say about that when we get to the
I
theory section.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing is, so Feyre is your main character for the first three, but she's one of three sisters. And so the way Sarah J. Maas has kind of built the series to go is it's kind of going to be Feyre's one, and then it's the next sister, and then it's the next that are kind
hmm
of your main people you're following. But everybody's still in the plot. It's just who's kind of your main focus for
hmm
that book.
right,
hmm
And
right.
so Silver Flames is her oldest sister, Nesta, which Allison knows she is one of my favorites. I love her.
hmm
Allison does not agree with that statement.
Hmm.
But Nesta
Yeah.
is she's very polarizing as a character. So it's kind of one of those things where you love her, or you hate her kind of deal.
Right.
Um, but Silver Flames is cool because you get the third person point of view. And so you start to build your world outside of Feyre. And so you
Right.
start to pick up pieces that she probably doesn't even know are happening. And you
Hmm.
only know because you're reading about other people now.
Right.
So I think she's building a bigger plot that we don't know about yet. So,
Hmm.
Oh, 127% she is. That woman, there is nothing she can't do. And as we've seen in Throne of Glass, like there literally is nothing she cannot do, which we told ourselves we were limited to 3 mentions of
mhm.
Throne of Glass each. And there
Yeah,
goes
so
one
we
for
just took.
me.
Okay. I can't say anything because I think some of my theories go for that. So,
Okay, well, okay, theories don't count then. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because
theories
Okay.
like
don't count.
Perfect.
Because,
just
like,
in,
don't even ask me who's in my locket, because I can't go there at this time.
Yeah.
even though we didn't like expose our locket innards
Yeah, yeah,
last
we sure
episode.
did. Um, Surely you
Um,
were able to follow along on that very brief summary
Yeah,
of
like I
ACOTAR.
know we said we didn't want to do spoilers, but it's like if you would ask us the plot, like we would be here for 7 days.
Yeah,
So
Oh.
like we
Mhm.
were really trying to save you the time,
you're welcome.
unfortunately. Yeah, no, you're welcome because we have so much more to say.
Yeah.
Um, we thought it would be fun to kind of like each of us go and talk about like our journey while reading ACOTAR for the first time. Um, and I think that maybe Summer should go first.
Ah,
Because Summer's read it. Like she was the last one out of the three of us to read it
mm-hmm.
first. Like you're the
Okay.
most recent when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to reading the series. So
Yes. Like a year and a half ago.
yeah.
So I read ACOTAR at the start of 2024, January 2024. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna tell the story from front to back because how else can I tell the story? Um, I had decided like, oh, 2024, New Year's resolution, I'm gonna read more. Obviously, we've talked about it on the pod. I read a lot in high school. I kind of faded off into college, and I was just like, I need to get back into reading because the reading space is just like my home.
Right.
So then, by happenstance, I like got strep in January, which was sweet, and was locked in my house for like a week and a half, and there was just simply not anything on TV that I could stomach to watch at that time. And so I was like, this is perfect. And for Christmas, sorry, this is so much. For Christmas, my one of my close friends got me Fourth Wing for Christmas. So I
Mm,
thought about starting that. So I texted Allison. I said, I've heard some things about, the order in which you need to read like ACOTAR and Fourth Wing. And if you hadn't heard that, people typically recommend like not reading those close together for
yes.
reasons,
Fourth Wing is like low key kind of like
like a
a
fan
fan
fiction,
fiction of ACOTAR. Like there are a
but
lot
not
of
actually.
themes. Not really like as far as plot goes, but like there are just a lot of themes that are super similar.
Right.
So that's why
Um,
they
Especially in
say
the
don't read
first
it.
book.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, especially in the
Hmm.
first book. So that's why they say don't read it
right.
like right after each other.
And so I just texted Allison because sure enough, we do like an annual like Christmas dinner, and you wouldn't believe that Allison couldn't stop talking about ACOTAR. And I was like, okay, well, I need to read it. I need to read it. So, like I said, I was going to read Fourth Wing. I texted Allison. I said, hey, like, I'm stuck in my house. I'm sick. I want to start reading. I'm thinking about starting Fourth Wing, but like, should I not do that? Obviously, Allison said, ew, don't do that. Start with ACOTAR. And so I didn't have like a Kindle. I couldn't go buy the books because, again, strep. So, like, I read them on my phone. This is the first time I've read any like romantasy that was not YA.
Mm,
So, it,
keep that in mind.
yeah, keep that in mind. And obviously, as you can tell with the merchandise I have on, and then the
Right.
way that it's completely seeped its way into every crevice of my soul, that I
Hmm.
loved it to death.
Yeah.
Um, my first read through, I didn't have like the ability like to highlight and stuff, so I would keep notes in my notes app, and of course, Allison and I had to FaceTime after every single book was done. And I think, Allison, you text me regularly asking me where I was for A Court of Mist and Fury. but I didn't know why. Obviously, I know why now, but it was like regular, which chapter are you on? I was like, oh, I'm on this chapter, but I think I'm gonna go to, I distinctly remember telling you I was on like chapter 49. And I was like, I'm so tired, I'm gonna go to bed. And you said, no, you can't go to sleep at this time. You're gonna have to finish like until at least chapter 55. And I said, okay. And then obviously decided to finish the whole book that same night. So,
Yeah, well, for
um,
those who don't know, like chapter 55 is where chapter 54 slash
yeah.
55 is in specifically the second book is where all is revealed.
Yeah, that,
Okay?
mhm. Let's
The
just leave it as
lore,
that.
it opens a door in your brain that you did not know existed, the corner of your mind, and you were altered forever,
And ever.
ever. Amen.
Amen.
So,
It's one of those chapters where she put all of the Easter eggs and the plot points in before, and you didn't pay attention. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, oh my God, it makes sense. It's like, I'm an
yes,
idiot for missing it.
Full
the
body
big reveal,
chills.
the big reveal. So,
Um, anyway, read all of those in a matter of like I think a week. Obviously, I had nothing else to do, but why would I have anything else to do? And
no,
then that
yeah.
just kind of ignited the obsession from then on. I ended up reading Fourth Wing later, Iron Flame, all of Throne of Glass, all of Crescent City, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So I credit ACOTAR for reigniting that flame, but I will die on a hill saying that there will never be a better reading year for me other than 2024 because I read all of that in the
Yeah,
same year. And I also got married that year, so probably the best year of my life forever. So
yeah.
mainly
No,
because of obviously Throne of Glass and ACOTAR. Oh, I
yes.
said it.
Oh, Grayson, sorry. I mean, obviously it's for Grayson. I mean,
I, obviously I got married, but then I guess second would be my introduction to
right.
JJ Mass.
Like,
So
of course.
like, of
Like, of
course,
course.
priorities, you
Yep.
know. Anyway, yeah, it has a special place in my heart, as it does for all of us, of course.
Yeah, obviously. That was gorgeous summer. It
Thank
literally brought
you.
a tear to my eye. I'm not
Thank
even
you.
kidding. So Madison, I think maybe perhaps you should tell your story because we kind of read at the same time, I feel like.
Yeah, we
So,
did. Allison is the one, like, I don't even think you'd finished the series or something.
no.
And
Well,
you,
I might have been like on the novella. Like I had read like at least the first three.
Silver Flames was not out yet. I know that much.
Yeah.
But she had been begging me in college to read this book. And I didn't read much in college. I read a lot in like middle school and high school, but I didn't have as much time. So I was reading like short little romance books that I could finish in a weekend.
On Wattpad, by the
So
way.
Yeah.
where else?
She was doing Wattpad junior year of college, so
And
Listen, I love it. I can't. It's in my soul. I've done it since I was 14 years old, you
yeah.
know? So she was kept trying to convince me to read this book. And I was like, fine, I'll give it a shot. So I read ACOTAR, read the first one, and I was like, it was okay. And I was like, I liked it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't think I'm going to read the rest of the series. Allison had to tell me the biggest plot point of the second book to convince me to
Which
read
was
the rest of the
chapter
series.
54 slash 55. So,
Correct. Because I
hmm
was dead set against, I don't love this story. I don't love the main guy. Like, I don't want to read this. Um, I
and
was very
like,
mediocre about it. And these books are big. I was like, I don't want to spend all my time on this if I don't even really
hmm
like it.
yeah.
So she had to tell me the biggest plot twist and plot point of the second book for me to read it. So I start reading it, fall in love. I read the whole rest of the series. Silver
hmm
Flames comes out, and me and Allison are reading it at the same time, FaceTiming after every big thing
Hmm.
happens. Um, and then I reread it, oh gosh, in 2023, I think.
hmm
And that is when I did like the whole analysis of figuring out stuff that you find out throughout the series of when she
hmm
told you that that was going to be it, and like
Right.
annotated it and like made my
Hmm.
notes and everything. And that's like where a lot of my theories come from because I didn't have as many before that. But looking at it that way made me like really start to see the options.
Hmm.
Right.
And I also read her other two series at that same time. So I was reading all of the way that she writes and like really learning how she likes to do things because
hmm
Hmm.
there are similarities in all of her series. So I'm
It's almost
picturing
as if she did
like,
that on purpose.
Yeah, it's almost like she's like planning this whole
maybe,
thing.
you
It's
know?
almost as if she's ready to do a crossover. So,
Hmm.
So I like a lot of the things that I think are going to happen for ACOTAR, I based off of like Throne of Glass because it's a completed series to see like
Right.
how she is figuring out how she's going to do it.
Right.
But so I have been an ACOTAR stan for like 10 years at this point.
No,
Not 10
Yeah.
yeah.
years, no.
When
Like
she
closer
when
to 8 maybe.
Yeah, I think same. We're aligned. Like I think because I'm pretty sure the first ACOTAR book came out when we were in high school,
Mhm.
but I obviously did not read it until I was in college. So we're like almost to the 10-year mark with the ACOTAR of it all. Um and if you wanted to know, as far as like me telling Madison the entire plot of the second book just so that she would pick it up, I did. I think we were on her couch for 2.5 hours. So,
Yeah. What else?
We
and
were.
that was just to get to the halfway point of
Because
said
she was dead
book.
set on me reading it, and I was like, Allison, I don't think I'm gonna like it. Like, I don't think and she's like, you don't understand. And I
Oh
was like,
my
just
gosh.
tell me, and if I'm like intrigued, like I'll read it. Like I'm asking you to spoil it for me, so I'll read this book.
And like that is how I feel. Like every single time someone's like, I am reading ACOTAR, the first thing I always say is like, if you hate the first book, please just read the second one. Like you don't understand. And once again, and it's like there, it's so right. That is like the definition of you do not understand
Mm-hmm.
because you have no idea what is coming until chapter 54
Mm-hmm.
slash 55.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first
No,
one, to be honest, is a very mediocre fantasy book.
it
It's very
is.
run of the mill, nothing crazy, like very just average. And
Mm-hmm.
then you read the next ones, and you're like, wait a minute, what?
Mm.
Why are we missing this in the first one?
Right. Sarah J is such a slow burn queen.
Mm-hmm.
She wants, but you know what? That's when it hits the most. It's like, I'm
But
not gonna bring
yep.
up, no, I'm not bringing it
Yep.
up.
Yep. Take a beat. Take a walk.
I'm not gonna take it. I don't want to use it already. We're not even that far in. I can't use my second mention.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But let's just say, like, she has a track record of like the first couple books and or first book is not going to be the best thing you've ever read
Mm-hmm.
until the plot starts to click.
Mhm.
And that's what I'll say.
Luckily, when
She,
I started ACOTAR, because I hadn't read in a minute, like it didn't, like I wasn't deterred from finishing it. I
Right.
also am the kind of person who like it severely pains my soul to leave things unfinished, which is like not necessarily healthy, but luckily I you didn't have to force it down my
Right.
throat. I was like, I'll just keep
Right.
going.
yeah, see, like Allison hates that I do this, but like I'll read the second book in like a romance series and like not care and not read the other ones. Like I just don't care.
Yeah.
So it
Oh,
like doesn't bother me at all to like not finish something. And
yeah.
so that's what like she knew she had to tell me something for me to keep going.
Understood. Got it.
Well, to be fair, with romance books, it's like you usually they're standalones but interconnected.
Yeah.
So like that's okay, but like that still like gives me like the
The
shivers that you do
heebie-jeebies.
that. Like
I don't even pay attention that it's part of an interconnected series. I'm like, oh, this
Mm.
looks good. Like I like this. And I'll
I
read it
like
and Allison will be like, Madison, that's like the third in a series. And I'm like, oh, okay.
one time she made our book, she's me and Madison are in the same book club. It was her month to pick and she genuinely picked the fourth book in a series and was like, this is what we're
I
reading.
didn't know it. Okay.
Hey, yeah.
And I was like, okay, great, perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
Don't know a single
Oh
character,
no.
but okay. Okay, I'll go into a brief overview of my journey with ACOTAR. If you
Please.
don't, like, please forgive me if I
The
tear
platform
up.
is yours.
Okay, thank you. So the thing about ACOTAR is like I had never heard of it, never like this was like before like TikTok was really big, whatever. So like I was like getting back into reading, but I wasn't like I've always liked fantasy, but not like Summer said, like I've always did like YA fantasy.
Hmm.
And then my big for my sorority was like, you have got to read this book, which Hannah is like, Madison knows me and Hannah were like in college specific, like more specifically, we were like the exact same person. So she was like, you have to read this book, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, okay, whatever. Do y'all remember thrift books?
Yes.
There was a website called Thrift Books where you could like buy really like used books for really cheap.
Hmm.
So I bought the first book on Thrift Books. I have all the old covers, which is like such a relic, so sweet. The original.
Mm-hmm.
To be precise. Anyway, so I read the first book. I will say like Madison was like, "Ew, I hate the first book was so boring." I thought it was like pretty interesting. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't once again like at that point in my life, I was pretty much like anything goes.
Mm-hmm.
If there was like a smidge of romance, I was like, okay, fine, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
So there was with Farah and Tamlin, who is actually the beast that kidnaps her. Obviously, like we said, there was a Beauty and the Beast aspect to this. So there was like a romance between Tamlin and Farah, and I was like, I want to see where this goes because we didn't get a lot in the first book, so I was like, clear, surely there'll be more. Surely there'll be more in the
Sure.
next one.
Yeah.
In book one, you meet Rhysand, who is he is like posed as this like villain from a different court. He's super strong. He has like this like shadow magic. Obviously, we're all intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Farrell also describes him as the most beautiful man she's ever seen. So then I go into the second book, and when I say there has never, I have, okay, first of all, that was like the first time I was introduced to like mates
Mm-hmm.
as a concept,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually a big like plot device that Sarah J. Maas uses in all her books.
Mm-hmm.
So like obviously that's my niche is fated mates.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what fated mates is basically like the universe has picked out this singular person for you. Um, and you are literally meant to be, even if like your personalities, like sometimes, especially in ACOTAR, like some mates are not like personality wise compatible, but
Mm-hmm.
they are like genetically.
Mm-hmm.
Am I explaining this right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially.
I'm kind
Like,
of going on a tangent, but
yeah,
whatever.
like you don't even have to end up with your mate. Like you could technically go and date other people, but like that's like that would
There,
feel like against your biological like desire.
yeah, like there is
You
like a
want to be with your mate.
pull inside of you that is like dragging you to this person.
Right.
Obviously, Farrah finds her mate in book five. I mean, excuse me, book two, and it is not Mr. Tamlin who kidnapped her.
Praise the
It is
Lord.
going to go ahead and be the most beautiful man she's ever seen, Rhysand, High
Yeah.
Lord of Night Court.
We may have
Okay.
mentioned him before, I
Yeah.
think.
This is a great time to bring up Rhysand. So when I read chapter 54, 55, once again, I
Mhm.
sobbed my eyes out.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the, once again, first time I've been introduced to mates, first time I've ever felt reading. I've felt like love like that in my
Mm-hmm.
entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like it was that, you know how people, this is going to be so obscure. Oh my God, actually.
No, no, please share. You have
No,
to.
like you know how people say like when you take like really hardcore drugs, like the reason that you get addicted to it is because you're always chasing the high that that first one gave you. That is literally me with ACOTAR. Like I have never felt a high like that in my entire life.
Yeah.
So
We don't
obviously I'm
endorse
like,
drugs.
no, we don't endorse drugs, by the way, unless it's the drug, which is ACOTAR.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So obviously, I'm reading it. I speed through it. It was so funny because all three of those books are the covers are different. They're like kind of similar. They look alike, but their colors are different. There's like red, blue, green. I remember I had a Tuesday, Thursday class, okay, that like, in college, Tuesday, Thursday class. I went in on Tuesday with a red book. I came back with a blue book, and then the next Tuesday came back with a green book. And my professor stopped me and was like, "Wasn't that blue last week?" And those books are big, by the way.
Yeah.
She's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Wasn't that blue last week?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just like reading a series." She said, "Oh my God, you're like flying through these." By the way, I never like me and this professor were not close. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She like saw my books and was like, "That is crazy that you've read all that in a week." And I was
Mm-hmm.
like,
And
I don't know what to tell you. Like you just,
Like
I have
that's
no
not
idea.
hard to do for her.
No,
Like
it's not. And
it's
well,
not.
at that time, I was not like a speed reader.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so like, and I was reading physical books. I didn't have my Kindle, so like, this was like really, this was a feat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read obviously the third book. Sorry, I'm going so in detail, but like
No, please.
as we know,
Go for it.
this is my Roman Empire.
Yeah.
I read the third book. At the end of the third book, you would not believe it. Rhysand dies. You would not believe it. Okay, and obviously I'm devastated. I'm sobbing
Mm-hmm.
my eyes out. I'm like dry heaving in my bed. He comes back to life, obviously, like duh.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like obviously in the first book, all of the High Lords give a kernel of magic to Farah to bring her back to life because she does die in the first book. Um, bring her back to life. They did the same as well for the High Lord of the Night Court. Then we go into the novella. To me, the novella was just fine. It's
It was
kind of just like
definitely, it was meant to like get you used to having different point of views. That was what it was
that,
for. It was
and
to
it
kind
was
of do
Hmm.
that and show you other people so you were used to
yes.
it before the next one comes out.
And it was
Right.
kind of just like a fluffy, because like throughout this whole series, there's a war going on. There's like so much trauma going on. Like even in the first book, like the villain, like the overarching villain in like the first ACOTAR book is like heinous. She's horrible.
Hmm.
And so everybody has trauma, whatever. So like the novella is like this light, fluffy, the Christmas special, if you will,
Right.
Hallmark vibes. And we were kind of like bridging the gap moving into the new plot, which is in Silver Flames.
Hmm.
Obviously, as we said, Silver Flames is the book about Feyre's older sister, who throughout all of the first three books was horrible. She, like, they were dirt poor when they were human, and she refused to help. Okay, they turn Fey, which like totally fair. Like she's traumatic. It's traumatizing. Like I'm not like disregarding her trauma, obviously, but like she was just like she doesn't have a nice bone in her body. Like she was just heinous. And that's what I'll say. So that was going into Silver Flames. I was like, I am going to hate my life. This is going to suck. And unfortunately, I didn't love it the first time I read it, but last Christmas I reread all of them and I actually like enjoyed Silver Flames a
Hmm.
lot better. I think maybe at the time in my life when I read it, I was like so obsessed with Rhysand that the fact that he was not the main love interest, I was like, I don't want to read
Sickening.
this. Yeah, but now that I've like matured in my reading, I'm like actually like that it was a good book. It was just like hard for me at the time.
Right.
Now, moving on to the expectations of the next book, which is not
Mhm.
out yet, is about Azriel, who is, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like,
I hope it's about Azrael at least.
yeah, fingers crossed. So within the Valaris, which is where Rhysand lives, he has like an inner circle who we have not mentioned yet, which is hate. Like,
How
what
did
are
we
we?
get through all of that and not mention the
We
inner
did. We have
circle?
not mentioned the inner circles. The inner circle basically is like his group of friends that he really trusts, and one of them is a shadow singer. We don't really know what that means
Hmm.
specifically, other than the shadows like speak to him, and he's like a spy master.
Hmm.
Okay. He is alluring. He is beautiful. He is one, in Nesta's book specifically, she mentions multiple times how hot Azriel is. She's like, all out of the three, Brisand, Cassian, who is Nesta's mate, she's like,
Hmm.
Azriel's the hottest.
And
Yeah.
And we,
Feyre says that as well.
yep.
Like they're not the it is a running theme that like anybody that meets Azrael is like he's the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life. Like so I'm
Mm.
like, okay, well, why do we keep mentioning that? Why is that so important?
Anyway, so it is rumored that he will be the main love interest in the next book. Fingers crossed, because we don't know a single thing about him. He does not speak. I mean, he does, but he doesn't.
Right.
Like when he only speaks when there is something dire to say. He is not going to be one to, yeah, we love him.
Yeah.
We
We
all,
we love him. We love
as a
him.
fandom, not a single person hates him.
No.
No, everybody
That's
loves him.
Impossible.
He is
everybody.
like everybody has their favorites, but everybody loves Azrael. There's nobody that's like, why is he your favorite? You know, like that's not ever a thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I do.
He's so mysterious and he's like morally gray and he's a little broody and he's
And apparently he can
quiet and
sing. Like, come
Like,
on.
shut up.
There is potentially going to be a love triangle in his book. If it's his book at all, it might be Elaine's book where, well, it's like more than likely going to be Elaine, but we'll see.
Which you
I
know
Anyway,
how
have
I
my
feel
theories
about
about
love
that.
triangles in this pod, so
yeah,
you
no, Summer is like so anti-love triangle, it hurts. And
like it makes me
this
sick.
is very similar to the team Edward, team Jacob. Like, are you team Gwen or are you team Elaine for Azriel?
I'm Team
Okay.
Gwen,
No,
so
team
I was
Gwen.
curious.
Elaine is Pharaoh's other older sister. So, but like we don't really know much about her, kinda either. But
Hmm.
anyway, there are some theories I'm sure Madison will dive
Oh my
into.
God, I'm so oh, we're getting into this and I'm like, I can't say that yet.
No, I know. Okay. Sorry, that was so long-winded. Unfortunately, like you had to sit through that because if this podcast was meant for us to convince you to read ACOTAR, like I was gonna have to put my all in it.
Yeah,
Mm.
100%.
So, so now I think we wanted to talk about like our Holy Trinity. Obviously, you guys know we're Holy Trinity girls in this
Mm-hmm.
house. We
100%.
want to do our Holy Trinity of like scenes and characters within the series. Okay.
Madison,
Okay.
as our guest, I feel as though you should start us off with your
Yeah.
Oh
Holy
gosh.
Trinity
Okay.
of
I'm gonna
ACOTAR
start.
scenes.
Okay, I Silver Flames. I also went on her rampage about Silver Flames. Silver Flames is my favorite book. I love it. I love Nesta. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I going into reading it, I was very intrigued. I was intrigued by her. I was intrigued by the whole plot point of like the magic she received. Like it was very intriguing to me. So I was like, I'm really excited to read this book.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of like she has a lot of mental struggles
Mm-hmm.
in Silver Flames that I don't feel like Feyre had as much. It wasn't as much of a thing for her journey, but it is for
Mm-hmm.
Nesta. And that's something a lot more like we're stepping up in maturity, which I think is fair considering she's older than Feyre.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of struggles that she went through that I personally really liked and read.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're a lot of people can relate to them. And so it was very interesting for me. And
Mm-hmm.
it made me understand her perspective more and
Right.
understand
Right.
why she maybe had acted the way that she did. So one of my favorite scenes is the end of Silver Flames after they have won the whole Illyrian Ramiel thing,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes to save Feyre. For context, Feyre is pregnant, and she's pregnant with a baby with wings because they're Illyrian and have wings, but she is not made in the way that she can have give birth to a baby with wings.
Mm-hmm.
So the baby is dying, and in
And it's
turn killing
killing
her as
her.
well,
Yeah.
This is
which
a
one
really
turn
emotional thing to like
killed
just like
Rhysand
bring
as
up.
well because they made a stupid bargain to die together, which I think is, I
Yeah, at
understand,
the
but like we shouldn't
yeah.
have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So Nesta has, she is a made being. And that means that there are these objects called the Dread Trove that she in turn can control. So there's a crown and there's a mask and there's a sword, and she has all of them. And with all of them, or not, well, she created the sword. There's also a harp.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And with all of these, she can manipulate time. She can alter reality. She can kind of do whatever she wants. She can
Raise the
raise an
dead.
entire army from the dead. She can do it all. And so she wins this competition, well, kind of wins it. And then she gets all of her things, and they find out that Feyre is in labor and she's dying. So Nesta goes and she talks to her, and she's like, I'm going to fix it. I love you. I'm going to fix it. She takes the harp, she plucks the string for time, she freezes time, and she tells the cauldron that made her into Fae and gave her all this magic to take it back in turn for saving her sister's life.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes back the magic that she grabbed and took from it. It's been like trying to get it back from her this whole time. So it takes it back and in turn saves Feyre. And she also alters herself to be able to have Illyrian babies.
She is
I,
mated to an Illyrian as well.
yep, I love that scene because to me, it shows that, yes, Nesta may have been bad to Farah, and I'm not discounting that she wasn't, because she was. But I think all of the sisters have been bad to each other in their own way, and they all have their own reasons for it. And I think that shows that to Nesta's core, she cares about Farah the most. Like she would
Mm-hmm.
do whatever. She would give up this power that she took because it hurt Elaine.
Right.
She would give it up to save Feyre. I think it shows a lot of character growth on her part, and I think it shows what the series is really about, and it's about the sisters and their bond and how they choose to save and help each other.
Right.
I think it was a great like recap on that and to show we shouldn't judge a book by its cover in this series
Mm-hmm.
because you never really know where you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So true. So true.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my next one, gotta really think.
Bringing up that scene makes me very emotional.
No, it makes me kind of sick because
Sick.
they have to like hold Rhysand back. Like
Mhm.
she's like bleeding out, dying, and they like won't let Rhys go to her because he's like obviously in like a state of like panic and
And And
Oh,
not even that, you have just come from like Cassian has almost died. Like we
yeah,
have come from an emotional, we're gonna lose a main character scene to a next, but we're potentially gonna lose two and technically three.
right.
Like she put you through the ringer for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bringing up
And
some trauma for me at this time.
like it to me is one of the worst like endings. She loves a dramatic ending to a
Yes, she
book. And
does.
it is one of the worst ones. But my next favorite scene, I think, is kind of underrated. I like at the end of Mist and Fury, where she agrees to go back with Tamlin to the Spring Court, and you're like,
Mm,
what is she doing? And you think they've broken the mating bond, but they haven't.
hmm.
It's like, what is happening? And then she says the whole, or Rhysand technically says the line of that he's just led the High Lady of the Night Court into his
Into,
house
yes,
and
into the
everything.
heart of his territory.
There we go. I love that because that is the epitome of Sarah J. Maas. Like
No. Mm.
she loves it. Because
You want to talk about a
like,
dramatic ending?
yes, like like we've gone through all of this and you think like they've done it. Like they're not mates anymore. Like the world has fallen apart that I've read 600 pages on, that I've gotten emotionally invested in. I love these people. She's just ripped it apart. And
Hmm.
then she's like, no, I haven't. Here's you a little something to
When
get
we
by.
thought that they broke that mating bond,
Like, uh, I didn't know how I was going to recover
no,
personally.
there was trauma. Trauma. Oh God.
I'm having some flashbacks that are
Yeah, no,
really
I don't.
vivid.
Oof.
And then, so my third, I think, is in Wings and Ruin when Feyre dismantles the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, yeah, the Supreme. Oh my
Listen,
God, the way that she has the power.
Love
honestly,
her, queen.
This man on the Supreme Court.
but the way that she dismantles the Supreme Court, love all of that. But I love how she's in the Autumn Court and all of Lucian's brothers
Hmm.
are about to take her out, not knowing who she really is because he's with her.
Hmm.
And then she is like almost ready to give up. Like she is given everything she's got. She can't get out of it. One of them has her by the hair, like burning her. Like she can't do whatever. And then she hears two smacks on the eyes
Hmm.
behind her.
Hmm.
And it's Azriel and Cassian.
That's our
And
baby
it is
girl.
just like it's like a coming home feeling. You're like, oh, thank God. Like I like
Yes.
we have finally made it. To me, like love it because she in the second book, she creates such a good relationship with both of them.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And that to me is so much like, yes, she's gonna have a reunion with Rhys, which is right after it, and she does a really good job of that. But that shows that it's not just about the romance, it's also about everything else. It's about that she is High Lady of the Night Court, which in turn means the inner circle are her inner circle too. These
Hmm.
Yeah.
are Rhysand's brothers, which therefore make them part of her family. And
Hmm.
she has
Right.
just as much of a relationship with them as he does.
Right.
Right. They even like kind of bring that up. Like Cassian says, like when you were just Reese's mate, like obviously would die for you, but you were his to have.
Mhm.
But when you became High Lady, you were ours to
Yeah,
have.
you're all of ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
like
like,
Asriel says that, like in Wings and Ruin, when they're at the meeting of the High Lords, and Tamlin is mouthing off saying some crap that he shouldn't be saying, and Azriel does something or whatever, and he says the statement, "Don't speak to my high lady," or "Don't talk to my high lady like
hot,
that." And he says,
Hot.
"My
hot.
high lady." She is not just Rhysand anymore. She is the entire Night Court's high lady.
Did we mention
And
there has never been a High Lady in the history of Parinthian, by the way?
She's the first
we
and
have
She's
not.
the
only.
fir she is
So,
the first. So Reese is like such a consent king who loves women's rights. Amen.
yeah,
Hallelujah.
He
amen.
is
Amen.
so much for feminism. Me too.
Mm,
All for it. Um, but those are my three.
That
those are
was
really
so lovely.
beautiful.
Like, I mean, I'm not kidding. Like when I said I teared up. Like eyes are glossy. Like
Yeah. Mine are more romantic.
a trip down memory lane. Yeah,
Ma
I
Which
of course,
I can.
Madison's like, oh, here's the significance of this, this, and this, and I'm like, when they like kiss for the first time, like,
Like,
and
duh.
like I do love those scenes. Don't get me wrong. Like, love it. But I am such like a plot hog. Like, I love
Yeah, you do.
the like what builds the plot and like what like solidifies things. So,
Yeah.
Perfect. That was beautiful. Summer, do you want to go into yours?
I feel like you have yours prepared, like you were ready to go.
she of course hasn't prepared.
Okay, well, if you
If you insist,
I
yeah.
could probably guess at least one of
I
them.
feel like I can guess them.
yeah, I'm sure you can because like my number one favorite scene of the entire series, and and it's not as deep as Madison, I'm telling you.
Okay, guys, as expected, we talked way too much about ACOTAR, but also not enough.
Not enough.
Um, so as we kind of alluded to in the episode last week, this is going to go ahead and be a two-parter,
A
if you will.
two-parter. So wherever we decide to like kind of cliff this whole thing, like just be sure to remember everything we've said so that you can come back to it next week.
Yes, please. Like, you're gonna want to hear what else we have to say,
Yeah,
obviously.
Madison gave some really good insight. So,
Like this part,
right.
subscribe, comment,
Follow all of our socials, which
follow
will
all
be
of
in
our
the
socials,
descriptions, of course.
and stay tuned for part two.
Okay. All right. Bye,
Love you
guys.
guys.
See ya.